questions surrounding Matthew Moulton and how incorrect interpretations travel through the court system and where it was used. Let's get into it. Here's a wiretap transcript of a conversation between Dexter and his son Donovan. And it reads, Donovan talks to his dad about a guy trying to sell a box Chevy with a lot of accessories. DW, Dexter Williams, tells Donovan that he ain't got the money to do that right now because he gave the car lot $47,000 just this week alone so it could keep going. DW said that Blank has lost money each of the 5 years. DW, his son, Donovan, talked about business and money, how Donovan should live his life. Right? Donovan sold a kilo of cocaine to a male today for $35,000. DW talks about that guy doing it right because he had the money to be able to invest in that kilo. They continued their conversation about money and how to make more money. All right, this is a trial transcript between Dexter Lee Williams' lawyer with Matthew Moulton, Lieutenant Matthew Moulton at the time, who's now sheriff of Houston County, is on the stand. I want you to take a screenshot. I can read over it later, but skip down to the last paragraph. It says, okay, you remember about a year ago, we had a hearing, and a part of that hearing was the wiretap, where you listened to communication between my client and his son about where you indicated that Donovan said he sold a kilo, hold on one second, of cocaine for $35,000. Remember that wiretap? Answer from Moulton. I remember you bringing that up 2 weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago in another hearing, yada, yada. Let's skip on down. And she said, well, it doesn't matter when the hearing was. Do you remember the wiretap that was in your synopsis? You said Donovan told his dad that he sold a kilo to a male on that date for $35,000. Moulton answered, yes, ma'am. I remember that call. And you know that to be untrue, right? Moulton answered right there, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, what? She said, yes, ma'am, what? I know that to be untrue. Donovan did not sell a kilo for $35,000. And he didn't say that on the wiretap, did he? No, ma'am. But that's what you put in your synopsis, right? Yes, ma'am. To explain that, when you type the synopsis, we're typing them into, as calls came in, on the live monitoring. I typed what I believed I heard. If you'll play that audio, we'll listen to the phone call. And they talked about a guy that bought for $35,000, and he's wanting to sell it for $10,000. Donovan was wanting to buy the car for $10,000. He talks about the stereo system, I think maybe $10,000 wheels on it, and he described the car to his dad. Then she goes on, she said, I'm listening. Then they transition from that into a phone call about the business, the used car dealership. And they talked about that. And then they talked about drug activity and the drug business. And then it comes back into Dexter making a comment about the guy that could invest $35,000 into one. And based on my experience and based on the calls surrounding that prior to that, at the time, I believe that was representation of drug transaction. So when we complete a synopsis, one, the way the system is set up with ADAX is we have to lock synopsis one. Once you lock it in, you can't go back in and edit that field anymore. Part of my investigation and part of my role as lead investigator is to go back every day and I review details that came in throughout the day, and I check the validity. I check for accuracy. I check to make sure what the other monitors are hearing and what I'm hearing and is consistent with what I type. And in this investigation in particular, with this particular call, I learned that what I thought I heard that day and what I typed was not correct. The statement about Donovan selling a kilo of cocaine for $35,000 were never used in an affidavit as probable cause for any search warrants, arrest warrants, wiretap orders. This statement is part of the permanent record because the synopsis is locked, even though it's not accurate. But if you look right up here above my head, he said he never used it for a probable cause, wiretap, all this, that, and the third. But you already had the wiretap. You didn't need another wiretap. But you did use it in a civil case just less than a month after Dexter was arrested. This is all tied to the $15 million of property and assets seized during this investigation, before conviction, before indictment, right? They used this in court to start the TRO in Dexter's civil case. But he said in open court that this wasn't about a kilo of cocaine. But in August of 2020, April of 2020, they used it to obtain a TRO to take possession of the property. We diving deeper in this, man. Mandamus hearing coming in mid-June, and this is the stuff that they're keeping away from the Georgia Court of Appeals. The transcripts from the original trial. These types of things that coming in from the civil trial. They're keeping that away, using the new indictment and using that as a fresh, clean slate, but they're leaving out the old indictment. And that's why Dexter has requested a mandamus hearing. Y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna have the link and everything. We're gonna tap in, we're gonna load in, we're gonna lock in on that hearing coming in June, because the Georgia Railroad is real. And it's the way they did that, and based on this accurate record, what he said in court, and he used this affidavit right here, he used it in a civil matter to start the process of taking Dexter's property. This is New Media, Lamar King Sr., investigative analyst. Be great today. Peace.